We're here today with Coach Chris, Assistant Esports Director for Michigan Tech. Thank you so much for being here and for adding value to those students.
Hey, really appreciate you having me.
So before we start, can you give us like a brief intro of like your journey into being the Assistant Director?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my journey starts a long, long
Mm.
time ago. I'm a big fan of Counter-Strike 1.6. I was able to get into that over 20 years ago. I unfortunately wasn't able to really break into the scene or get competitive in the good old days. I was practicing and competing in Counter-Strike Source. Um, don't try and look up my pro career because I never was able to break it in, but it was something that I always was really passionate about and I really wanted to get involved in. And I thought that, I looked up to my older brother's friends playing Dota and I just thought it was the coolest thing. Fast forward to my college experience, a lot of my friends got involved at University of Arizona and Arizona State, starting those esports clubs, and that was League of Legends and StarCraft 2 at that time. Me at Northern Arizona, I was always looking down at Envy, being like, "Oh man, that's so cool! I wanted to." And every time I went back home to Tucson, I'd always hang out with them at their LAN parties and try and grind with them. And I was only really able to get the opportunity to compete in collegiate when I had to start my own team. I pulled together the Counter Strike team at Michigan State University, which has gone on to be quite successful. I'm really proud of those guys and what they've been able to accomplish from our very humble beginnings, and have my one season of collegiate experience before I finally was able to graduate with my degree in law. Um, Through that experience, I got roped into building a bigger coalition, the Esports Club Association at Michigan State University. That has become the club association that it is today, and it is evolving quite rapidly into one of the dominant esports programs in North America, if you exclude collegiate, right? Um, from that, I got my first coaching job at Davenport University. Some of those in the Counter Strike scene might have heard of them. I was involved all the way up until Koi took over for their Cinderella run to the ECL, and I was able to coach that team up to advanced through the 2 years that I was there. And I also was coaching Rainbow Six Siege as well. From that and the success that we saw there, winning a number of championships and runner-up titles or runner-up awards, I got the job that I have now, which is the assistant esports director at Michigan Tech. I still do as much as I can with our Valorant and Counter Strike team. Tactical shooters are near and dear to my heart, as you can imagine. But I do a lot more administrative day to day. I help run the stream, and I do all recruiting for this program.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And for the streamer and those non-gaming positions, do you offer like do you have paid staff or like empower students to like take on these positions? How would
Yep.
that work as well? Because we focus a lot in the competitive, but there's also like a broad a lot of positions for those students as well.
Yeah, we at Michigan Tech, our mission is to empower our students. We strive to make the best people that we can out of everybody who comes through that
Mhm.
program, and we expand those opportunities as wide as we possibly can. We have scholarships for staff. Currently, our stream director, as well as we've had social media managers in the past. I really look to everybody who comes in my door and say, okay, what do you want to do? How do you want to get involved? Where do you want to go? And then I best facilitate that passion to get the work done that we need done. We run like an esports startup. And within all the rules of the university as much as we can. But that means that if you're passionate and you're motivated and you want to get some cool stuff done, I'm very happy to find a way to facilitate that. That comes out into multiple tiers. We have volunteers. I'll always accept volunteer help. So if you just want to get your foot in the door, that's always a possibility. And then we have paid positions. That's most typically casters. We also have IT coordinators that are students who help us run the lab and solve all of these IT problems that Ivan and I might have been experiencing before this call. And we also have scholarship as well. Then those range pretty favorably alongside the athletics as well, because it's a similar time commitment, and we need everybody to do a great thing here.
That's great. And it in the students' college experience, like uh, what are you looking for? Like, what for you? What are the most important like skills that you focus on to develop on them, so when they graduate, they can take onto a workforce or whatever path they choose after
Mhm.
graduation.
Generally, I focus on accountability, discipline, and motivation. right? Um, Everybody has passion. Everybody
Mhm.
is really wants to be here. But it's about facilitating that and being able to follow through on what you want to do, and also understanding how to scope things out and budget your time appropriately to accomplish all the things you want to accomplish. A lot of our students we work with, it's just goal setting, scheduling, working and checking in periodic processing, and how to best use the limited time resources that they have, that really has them kind of polish up and shine into the diamonds that we love to see when they graduate. Um, Another big one that we really focus on is collaboration. I really, really work closely with each and every one of my students as much as I possibly can to get them to learn how to facilitate better conflict and better conflict resolution. Where everybody's a little bit different. Everybody's going to have issues come up, but it's
Mhm.
on us as individuals to really come forward and own up to, well, how can I best approach this situation to make a best outcome for everyone involved? And by working together, that's the only way we're going to be able to accomplish anything, or especially anything great. So it really comes down to using each of our time the best that we can, and then coming together with everyone on the team to make this thing together. And that takes cooperation.
That's right. And mentioning time management and schedules, like
Mhm.
how do you work with students to fit in their academic, their practice and competition, and also having some time to like maybe do some social life or like to
Yeah.
work out or like how do you schedule like this with students?
For me, it starts with having them bring it all up front, right? So every single team, and this includes the media team, has a semester beginning meeting, and I sit each individual down and I have them just tell me, all right, what do you want to do? How are you going to do it? And there's this acronym floating around, the SMART goals. We trim it down to make it a little more palatable and fun, but just really simple. Of okay, you have 3 months, 4 months of this semester. How are you going to break it up? How are you going to measure it? What is success to you? And then I can help facilitate breaking up that into, I can check within every single week, I can check in every month, and we're going to hold you accountable to hit what you want to do. Something that you sort of touched on is stretching themselves too thin. I've seen many teams in my career, or many players in my career, try and do it all, and they end up burning out in a year or less. And that's something that I pay very close attention to. And every time someone comes to me, is like, "Oh, Coach Chris, I have this amazing idea," and I'm like, "Awesome, love it. Where are you going to fit that in your day, right? Where are you going to fit that in your week? Because let's order your responsibilities of, you got to do class first, else you can't stay at the school.
Mhm.
You got to take care of yourself. You got to eat. You got to sleep. You got to go outside and have some fun sometimes. And so, like, those are just blocks of time you can't move. And then you got your team obligations, you got your workout obligations. We do have workouts with the team, so that really helps us stay on top of staying physically fit. And we highly encourage everyone to work out more and just get outside and participate in sports, or just going for walks out in the beautiful Keweenaw whenever they can. Um, you got to fit all that in there. And if you can tell me, like, oh, great, no, I got this plan, this schedule, I can fit in 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, hours on Saturday. And I'm like, awesome, great. Sounds like you have a good plan. I'll check in with you and let me know if you have any issues. How Michigan Tech started is before my time, but I am familiar with a bit of the story. So it originally was a club, and one that I have very fond memories competing against when I was at Michigan State. It was well ran, well respected. The teams are very solid. And I believe Matt Bumney, who now works at eFuse and is, I believe, the head of tournament operations, was the vice president or co-president of the Esports Club at Michigan Tech. And he's integral with the success of Collegiate Rocket League, if you've ever heard of that. So there was always some really talented lineage of the students who were started here and got the program off the ground. Um, I believe the club was approached by athletic staff roughly 3 to 4 years ago. And the athletic staff did, to the credit, our athletic director is Suzanne Sandregret, and the assistant athletic director, I don't remember Joel's title, so excuse me, Joel, if you see this, but Joel Isaacson went around and they asked a lot of questions to a lot of the existing programs about how to best launch a varsity esports program through athletics. And once they felt satisfied that they kind of knew what they needed to look for and what they needed to accomplish and the scope of the project, they reached out to all the students on campus and very quickly linked up to the existing esports club. Um, And through the hiring process, they originally hired the club president or co-president at the time, Caitlin Roos, who became the initial esports director and my former employer. Um, she took the program from a club to the esports, varsity sports team that it is today. And that process has been ongoing for the past 2.5, 3 years. And I feel we are very much hitting the ground and getting that strong foundation of what a varsity sports esports program really looks like, and be developing that for the foreseeable future. Really, the goal here at Michigan Tech is to set the standard of what one should expect from a varsity esports program, and that it is very much within the expectations of what anyone would expect from, say, an NCAA sports team. Which in the United States is held with very, very high regard, and it's because they hold themselves to a high standard with no compromises. And that's really what we are pushing for and striving to accomplish is being excellent with no compromises.
That's great. And do you see yourself like the IFA program continuing to be in the athletic department, or do you see in a future like having an esports department as well with the respective video games?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've discussed, and I
Mhm.
feel that it makes a lot of intuitive sense to have the administrative function as the esports department expands, that it ends up becoming its own department. There's a lot of things that need to line up for that to happen, and there is considerable advantage to being within the existing structure of athletics. And I certainly see it possible to be within athletics and completely successful, and not having to essentially reinvent the wheel twice and then have
Mhm.
double the administrative staff, right?
Yeah.
Um, so once, for example, our media department really gets a handle of what esports needs uniquely, and they're getting a lot better at it every semester. We really could just hire maybe a student intern to help with the workload, and we don't have to really hire anybody. If we make our own department, we're making essentially a completely siloed, parallel compliance officer, psychologist, personal trainer, um, and I just forgot I already said compliance officer, but you get kind of the gist of what I'm saying there,
Yeah.
of that you're
Yeah.
essentially doubling the workload. So if you can find a way to make it just line up with the existing structure, you don't have to do
Mhm.
it all over again. It remains to be seen if, as esports develops scholastically, if the needs of esports end up just being different than the needs of athletics, and it ends up making up a lot of more sense to have those specialists who focus within the different regulatory space. Um, if I knew for certain, I would be a lot more wealthier man, and I'd probably just go play the stock market, right? But I do think that it's I would give say maybe 50-50 shot of whether or not it's going to develop into its own thing, or not. And really, we just kind of wait and see.
That's great. And what are the, because I get it from some students sometimes, like what are the partnerships or collaborations you have that benefit the students, like in like peripherals, I don't know, in jerseys or in opportunities, like
Hmm.
in the workplace, like whatever, like
Yeah,
what are the
essentially
partnerships? Yeah.
all the there are quite a few programs on campus that already help us out. And it is one of the biggest advantages of being in athletics already. So through athletics, we have private tutors, we have I always forget their actual title, but they're personal trainers or physical therapists. There's 3 people in that office who take care of all injuries. So if something happens where we do joke about like, oh, if you threw your mouse too hard and you throw out your elbow or something, but there are real risks of injury for esports competition in terms of just damaging your posture or
Hmm.
repeat stress injury of using your mouse in the very specific way over and over and over again. We have those
Okay.
professionals already, and it's very easy and seamless to just get you in appointment and get you into their process so they can take care of you. Um, I did allude to we have a psychologist on staff, that's fairly unique even across all college athletics departments, where you can schedule a appointment with her and her staff on demand, and they go out of their way to survey all the incoming students every year to just check in with everybody, see where they're at, and then serve at an early warning sign for if there's anything coming up or anything that they need to really hone in on, and it can really make a big difference in the short term for someone who might otherwise really, really struggle. So that's a really cool program that we just get to plug right into and don't have to develop ourselves. Um, there is the everything through the I would say what I call like the university ecosystem, right? So that's intramural sports. I've been motivating my team to go out and play, beach volleyball, or they call it sand volleyball, but it's beach volleyball. Or cornhole is a thing up here, and the IM Sports League is operating like a doubles tournament, and some of our guys are already getting motivated about like, all right, let's get a team together and get out there and do stuff. We engage with community outreach, charitable actions, just getting out to the community, volunteering time. Through athletics, it's very easy to just plug into the existing NCAA All-American system of that you track the volunteer hours, you have awards associated with them. So it's very seamless for us to get people involved and get people motivated to donate more of their time and energy to the community, which is something that we are really championing to get more done this year, and will make a big pillar of our program going forward. Um, in terms of the academic assistance, I touch base on the tutoring that the department will pay for tutors to help with specific classes. But we also have study tables, as well as you have a built-in study group with all of your athletes. Most teams have a lot of overlap in the same majors. They have a lot of overlap in the same professors. And while we can't have you sharing outlines or uh, helping with papers, right? But you can still ask questions. You can still ask for help. You can still do everything to, work with your players and work with your teammates to make sure that they academically succeed. And that's something that just being a part of the team helps with. Um, but there is also the study table program where if it's sliding scale with your grades, if you're doing better, we don't require as many hours where you sit down and study with in a supervised setting to make sure that like you will be in this room for 3 hours to study. Um,
Mhm.
and sliding down to 2.5 GPA, or our minimum requirement of 2.0, that's a 6-hour requirement. Um, and that's a way to just keep guys motivated and being like, look, you're going to be in this room anyway, just get your homework done. And it also incentivizes them to better manage their time of just get everything done in the chunk of time that for homework, and then it frees you up to do other things with the rest of your day.
That's
Um,
right. And staying more like in the academic aspect, like
mhm.
are you guys like wanting to like get esports into the academics as a certificate, minor, major, or masters, or is something that is far away for now?
I'm a pretty ardent and opponent of esports degrees. Um,
Mm.
all the advice I've gotten from professionals in the industry and my personal experience has been get good skills that help esports.
Mm.
Everybody has the esports business knowledge, right? That's what you kind of get just by being part of the community, and that's what the people involved already have. And
Mm.
so when they're looking for hiring, and when I'm looking for adding people to my team, it's what else can you do, right? And for us, Michigan Tech has a very strong visual performing arts department here. It's one of our smaller schools where everyone knows Michigan Tech as this engineering, math, STEM Goliath, but we have a very successful business college. We have a very successful VPA for the visual performing arts. And those are ways that esports allows those students to have a really interesting practicum for their portfolio and allows them
Mhm.
to do something that applies what they're learning in the classroom that's fun and engaging. But what they're still studying is a far more traditional and rigorous curriculum. Where if you're a VPA student who's studying audio engineering, you're doing esports events with us, you're doing live events with the theater, with plays and shows. You're doing bigger events with the stadiums for athletics. And you also are going to be doing concerts, and that gives you that kind of breadth of knowledge and expertise, which then, if you end up using that portfolio and experience working with us for esports, you also know a lot more and can provide a lot more value to
Mm.
solve unique problems that are usually outside of what esports handles, right? Or when you do a bigger show and you have a bigger stadium, you just you're like, oh, I've done this before. I know how to handle this unique challenge because I have a broader expertise as an audio engineer, not just an esports manager, right?
Yeah, that's great. And uh, going to the community aspect, because the community, like how it is, talks about a lot about the esports program. So, like, two questions: how would you describe your community, and how are you looking to expand your community, say in the next 2 years?
I would to pick a word, I would say inclusive and then goofy. Our community is they're very fun, but they're pretty troll, right? They're they're goofy. They make a lot of jokes. There's a bit of irreverence and not taking itself too seriously, which makes it, in my opinion, very approachable and very inclusive, which has been great to see. Um, in terms of broadly outside the community, or because I view the community of esports, at least locally, being the students on the team, the students involved with the program, the members of the esports clubs on campus, and really our affiliated friends and fans, right? And generally, it's just a good time. I don't know. I always have a fun time when I hang out with
Mhm.
everybody, and it seems that everybody's very motivated and just enjoying each other's company. Um, it's something that we're looking to grow, nurture, and expand on. And I have a very keen eye to really stomp down on any kind of bad activity that can, I don't know, dissuade others, exclude others, and just kind of, bully or rag on folks that, especially if they're new and they're just trying to get their foot in the door. It really is a place that I think everybody should have a space for, and it allows us to have a better, fresh start to build something that's better than, say, just the athletics community, right? We don't have all those decades of history that we have to contend with. It's all pretty still fresh. Um, in terms of activities, there's working within the greater apparatus. I touch base with all our local high schools and get them involved with us as much as I possibly can. I mentioned earlier that we're pushing to get our students out involved, volunteering their time with charitable causes, if that's working at the food bank, if that's at the soup kitchen, if that's putting in plants on a roadside. Just getting them out there and meeting more people and just having very natural conversations about what they're about and what they're about, the people they're talking to are about. It's a way of just to naturally, steadily expand our reach and acceptance within our greater community beyond the university walls.
That's great, Chris. Well, I appreciate so much your time. And could you tell us like where can we find your program and also you?
Yep. So you can find me at Chris Gelety. That is ChrisGelety on Twitter, or X if you call it that. Um, you can always email me at cgelety. That's again C as in Christopher and Gelety at MTU for Michigan Tech University .edu. You can find us. You can just search MTU Esports on everything. So that's Twitch, Twitter, um, even TikTok at this time. You can always check out our website. Just search Michigan Tech Esports. It'll come right up. And then from there, I hope to hear from you. You can always shoot us a DM on Twitter if you're just lost and confused, but I prefer an email if you'd be so kind.
Okay, Chris. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna stay in touch.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Ivan.